Hello, folks. Can you all hear me all right? Comment if you can hear me. Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Jon. I'm one of the co-founders of Major League Hacking with Swift, who many of you may know or receive emails from frequently. Uh, so we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. I know we normally are doing all hacking all the time. My other hobby, aside from hacking, is baking. And so today we're going to be baking a apple pie. Um, I was trying to think of a way that this related to hacking. I guess hackers really like to eat. Um, Pi is like a cool mathy number. I don't know. I'm kind of like stretching it a little bit, but really I just enjoy baking, and I thought you might have some fun watching. Um, so this is going to take a little bit of time. There's actually a lot of steps in this recipe. I have never done this specific recipe before. You can see it here. It's from a website called Serious Eats. um, I've made a lot of pies in my life, but never this one, so we'll be learning as we go. And if something goes wrong, that's okay. It'll probably still be delicious. Um, if you're watching along, feel free to comment or ask questions as we go. I'm happy to answer questions about baking or MLH. I definitely want to engage with the people who are chatting, and feel free to invite your friends. I know it's early morning for folks in the US, but I think it's probably a better time for people abroad. So without further ado, let's get started. Um, so I actually have a handy dandy camera here where you can see my table. Woo! And we're going to be starting off by making a pie crust. Um, Pie crust is mostly butter and flour. So I'm going to go get the butter. I actually cut it up beforehand. I cheated a little bit. And it is in the freezer. You kind of want really cold pie crust because really cold butter for your pie crust because it helps it be flakier and more delicious. So I'm going to go grab that butter from the freezer. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the mixer with a bunch of flour and a little bit of sugar. So here's my frozen butter, all cut up in little chunks. And this is an entire pound of butter. It's a lot of butter. Um, I would not recommend eating this much pie on your own. It's definitely not good for you. Okay, so we're going to dump this in here. Can you all see this? Yeah, I think so. And we are going to add to it. Let me give you a better view. There we go. Nice. Okay, we're going to add to it about 4 cups of flour and 6 tablespoons of sugar. So I have my flour here. And a little cup measure. And the reason we're doing this first is because once I make this, the crust actually has to sit in the fridge for a bit. There's 1 cup. 2 cups. Oh man, I'm almost out of flour. 3 cups. And a 4th cup. Actually, that one is not completely full. I'm going to add a little bit more. Now we're going to add a little bit of sugar, which I have right here. I wish we could take every ingredient in increments of 3.14, but that would be both inefficient and probably, I don't know how that would taste. It might be a little weird. So we're going to add 6 tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to need 1.5 teaspoons of salt, which is actually the same thing as half a tablespoon. There's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So I'm just going to use that one. It's a little easier. Salt. And we are going to toss that in the mixer for a second. The only other ingredient we have to add here is water, which we will not be adding just yet. We actually have to mix this up a little bit first. Major League Baking, Will. It's going to happen. Okay. So all we're doing right now is just incorporating the dry ingredients and the butter. We're trying to break it up a little bit. So what's going to happen here is as we go, the butter is going to break into smaller chunks. You can kind of see it happening already. And I'm going to go get some cold water from the fridge. The interesting part is this recipe doesn't actually specify how much water to add. You kind of have to eyeball it, which is always a little bit risky. So hopefully that goes well. It just says gradually add cold water until dough comes together. Okay, cool. So I saw someone in chat asking if I'm going to slice the top of the bread. Am I like missing a meme here or something? Yes, it is a mesh. It is a short crust pie crust. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of water so it starts coming together. We don't want to add too much because we don't want an overly wet dough, so we add a little bit at a time. And what's going to happen after I do this is we're going to press this whole thing into a little disc, and that's going to go in the fridge while we prepare the rest of the recipe. Starting to look good. You can see it's starting to get a little moisture, come together a little bit. We can add a little bit more. Oh, look at that. You can see, if you're paying attention really closely, that there's like actual dough starting to form around the mixer blade. Oh, yeah, I mean, I always slice the top of my bread. I'm not making bread, but yeah, I always slice the top of the bread. When you're baking bread, the reason that you cut the top of it is actually to give it room to expand, and you kind of control the expansion a little bit. So when you see bakers like cutting the top of the bread, it's actually so that the bread grows in a certain way. Yeah, I'm making pie. It's true. Okay, that crust is actually looking really good. So you can see here we have like a little dough ball. That's exactly what you want it to look like. It's not too wet, not too dry. And we're going to take this. Whew, that's tight. That's very stiff. Okay. We're going to take this whole thing. I have to kind of scrape it off the beater, get this thing out. Okay. And we're going to press this into a disc. That's just to give it more surface area when you throw it in the fridge. And once it's in the fridge, we basically just leave it there while we prepare the rest of the recipe. And a little bit, I will roll it out and put it in our pie tin. Okay, looking good. I'm trying to save as much dough as possible from the beater here. Okay. So it's a nice amount of pie dough. Let me just double check the recipe real quick because I know that we are going to have to make a top and bottom crust. And so I want to make sure I don't need to split it ahead of time. It usually makes it easier to split it ahead of time, so maybe I'll do that even though it doesn't say to. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna split it into two. It'll make my life a lot easier later. I do like the new MLH logo. You know, the old one was fine. I don't really have any problem with it, but I think the colors on the new one pop more. They're a little like prettier, so I'm a big fan of the new one. Okay. I need some saran wrap so we can wrap this up. And so what's going to happen now is I'm going to shape this into two roughly equal discs, wrap them in plastic wrap so they don't dry out here. And then we're going to put them in the fridge. Okay. These look pretty equal, right? Yeah, I think so. Doesn't have to be perfect. If we get to the end and one's a little bigger than the other, that's okay because I'm going to take a rolling pin to it later and roll it out. And so we're going to flatten them both, and we can use the scraps from one to patch the other if we need to. Sadly, I cannot load Twitter while I'm doing this, but I'll take a look at that tweet later. Okay, that looks like a flat enough disc there. We're going to wrap that up. Ooh, my saran wrap came out of the package. You know, no one's ever said I was a neat baker. I'm a little messy. It is a good looking pie crust, though, I gotta say. Okay, so there's our first one. Nice and flat and pretty thick, but we're going to roll it out later, so it'll be all good. I'm just going to wrap it once more to get the edges, and then we'll do the other one. Okay, there's one. Great, nice. Now the other one, I'm going to do the same thing. We want them to be pretty equal because I'm going to have a top and a bottom crust. Hello, everyone. I saw someone say hi in chat. Okie dokie. There's our second pie crust. Flatten it out a little bit. It feels pretty good. It has some chunks of butter. You definitely want some chunks of butter because it makes it flakier when you bake it. Okay. Sadly, I don't think I can ship this pie. You know, I don't know how pies would do in transit. Maybe if you froze it really hard, it would be okay. But I have a feeling this would not do well. Okay, so we have our two discs. I'm going to toss those in the fridge while we prepare the next step, which is going to be our ice cream base. Okay. So now that we have our pie crust, I'm going to actually be making homemade vanilla ice cream to go with this, which is pretty cool. I have an ice cream maker you can kind of see behind me there. So we're going to be making an ice cream base now. It's vanilla ice cream, pretty basic. I've never made this recipe before, but it's standard. It has milk and cream and the rest of the ice cream ingredients that you would normally see. So let me take this camera over and we will get started. Luckily, I'm actually using two laptops to record this so that we can get multiple views here. Pretty fancy if you really think about it. Okay, come on with me. Oops, there we go. Okay, there's laptop number 2. Hopefully I don't get too messy. Okay, can everyone see the pot? Yes, you can, great. Okay, so what does it say to do for the ice cream base? Combine milk, cream, and sugar in saucepan. That's pretty straightforward. Let me get my milk and my cream. What we're gonna basically be doing here is making a custard. So if any of you have ever had frozen custard before, it's almost like thicker and denser and creamier than traditional ice cream. So we're gonna be making that. I also got my eggs out of the fridge when I went over there. So we need 2 cups of milk, 2 cups of cream, and 1.5 cups of sugar. Okay, so here's my first cup of milk. One cup and 2. Okay, then I'm gonna need 2 cups of cream. What type of hack is this? Someone asked. This is a baking hack. I don't know if that's a baking hack. Honestly, it's a kind of a fun break from hacking, where you can watch me bake. 1, 2. Nice. A lot of dairy. And my parents are actually coming over later for a socially distant outdoor gathering, so we will probably all eat the pie together. Okay, let me get the milk back in the fridge. Okay, so we have our 2 cups of cream, 2 cups of milk. Now we need sugar, 1.5 cups of sugar. Okay, some types of ice cream actually use different sugar, and it helps it kind of get less crystallized. I'm just gonna eyeball this. It's not like doesn't need to be super exact. So that's about 1.5 cups of sugar, and we are going to add a vanilla bean. This is definitely the fanciest part. I've never scraped one out, but oh man, that smells incredible. Wow. Okay. When you add a vanilla bean rather than vanilla extract, it tastes really good. That's really kind of it. Okay, let me get rid of some dishes here. So, what we're going to do with the vanilla bean is scrape it out, and I will show you that in just a second. I might need to bring this over. I'm going to precariously put my laptop up there, get a cutting board, and then we will scrape this out. All right. You know, when you watch a baking show on TV, they have producers to help them with all this stuff, but I'm a one-man show. Okay, so we have our vanilla bean here. Nice, looks pretty good. We're going to cut it open. You can see inside of it here, there's all these little, like, I just ate some of it. That tastes incredible. You have all these little beans. We're actually going to scrape these out into the pot. This gives it its flavoring. So you can see, like, the vanilla bean there. I'm just going to scrape that in. A little bit tedious, but quite a nice flavor. Okay, a little more. And this is all going to get blended up. So when you buy vanilla ice cream and it has all those like freckles in it, that's from the vanilla pod that I'm scraping here. Okay, looking good. I don't know if we have any hackers here from Madagascar, but supposedly that's where a lot of the vanilla beans are grown, at least the ones we get in the US. More vanilla, looking good. And this stuff is like real strong. Like one bean will be more than enough to flavor the whole ice cream. The recipe actually calls for 2 beans, but vanilla beans are really expensive, so I'm only going to use 1. And I'm actually going to toss a little vanilla extract in there and cheat a little bit. Okay. Looks pretty good. I think I scraped that out mostly. You can actually save the pods, and you can use them to like infuse sugar, make some other things. They're really handy. Just don't let them dry out too much. Okay, let me throw some vanilla extract in there just to balance out the bean. Whew, that is real tight. And my hands are a little buttery. This is hard. Okay. Whew, there we go. Man, baking is a workout, right? It justifies all of the calories at the end. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit less than a teaspoon in. Great. Now we're ready to cook this. So what happens here is we basically just want to dissolve the sugar and get the steam. Okay. Let me reorient my camera here. I think you can all see that. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to whisk this up and get it to steam. We don't want it too hot. This is actually way too hot, probably. But we need the sugar to dissolve into the milk so that we can make our ice cream. And this is going to take a while to cool off. I have some tricks to get it to cool off quicker, but and while I'm doing this, I'm actually going to need to crack a bunch of eggs. So the other part of this recipe that makes it a custard is that there's actually cooked eggs in it. So we're going to crack a bunch of eggs and separate the yolk and the white. Once that happens, you basically have to temper the yolks by heating them up a little bit without cooking them. You don't want like cooked egg in your ice cream. That's pretty weird, right? So let me read the recipe here. Okay, I need a bowl. I got a nice handy dandy bowl here. I'm gonna move the camera back over so you can watch me do the eggs. Great, that's good enough. We need, did not clip that on quite well enough. Let me try that again. This is the added challenge of baking with a camera. You gotta really get your stuff together. Okay. I think it's not gonna fall over this time. Hopefully, we'll find out. Okay, I need my 6 eggs. And I'm going to save the egg whites. I'll probably make breakfast with them at some point. I'm going to grab a Tupperware to store the egg whites. 6 eggs worth of whites is quite a lot. So I don't want to let those go to waste. So, can you all see this? Basically, what we're going to do here is crack the egg. And the way I separate yolks is you actually pour it back and forth. So you can kind of see, let me tilt this down a little more. You can kind of see the white and the yolk separating there. I don't know the science of why this works, but it works really well. So now we have a yolk and a white. We have to do that 6 more times. There we go, another one. It's a little hard to get a hang of the first time you do it, but once you've done it a few times, it's pretty straightforward. I've seen all sorts of methods for separating yolks and whites, and this is by far the easiest one, I think. Okay. Oop, that one has a dangler. Great. Almost there. Oh no! Egg down. Yeah, I'm not going to try and save that. I'll just try another egg. I'll eat it later. Once in a while, you lose your yolk. It's very sad when that happens. Okay, I need one more egg. That was very sad. Yeah, make sure you check in for this. I posted it in Discord if you need the link in the announcements channel or the event reminders channel, but do not forget to check in so you can get points and such. Great. Now we have 6 eggs. I'm going to toss these. Okay. I'm going to wash my hands real quick to get the egg yolk off. And then we will start to temper the eggs. So What that means is if you were to throw all of the egg yolks in the pot immediately, they would cook and you would get scrambled eggs in your ice cream, which would not taste very good at all. So what we do is you add a little bit of the hot milk to the eggs, and it basically slowly brings them up to temperature. And you don't have to worry quite so much about them cooking, though. For basically any custard ice cream, you need to strain it through like a really fine mesh sieve, just in case there's any chunks in there that did cook. Okay, let's see. Just gonna read chat real quick and see if I missed anything. Awesome. I actually did make banners here, but I forgot to update it. So we're waiting for the ice cream base to steam. It's still quite cool. I'm gonna whisk that up again. Still pretty cool. I'm gonna turn up the heat. Okay, so we are almost up to the fun part here. Sorry, I'm just reading this. Oh, interesting. It actually does want me to throw the vanilla beans in with it. Cool. Probably has some additional flavor. Yoink. Wow, my hands smell like vanilla now. It's quite nice. I see someone saying that cooking looks really hard. This is a particularly complex recipe. There's a lot of like baking recipes and pie recipes out there that would take me 15 minutes to do. I'm doing a longer one so I can fill the whole time slot here, but you definitely don't need to go quite this crazy. Um, Most apple pie recipes, you kind of just like make crust, cut up a bunch of apples, and throw them together. So we're waiting for this milk to steam. I don't want to cook it because then it'll be too hot, but I do want it to, just start steaming a little bit so it's hot enough to temper the eggs. Let me read the recipe here. So once liquid is hot, gradually pour it into the yolks, whisking constantly so you can get the yolks steaming hot. Then you scrape the yolks back into the pan and cook them until they become a custard. Awesome. And then we're going to blend it up. Okay, cool. I'm going to have a glass of water while we're waiting for that to steam. Feel free to post any questions you have about MLH or baking or really anything that you think I could answer in chat, and I will do my best to answer it. No promises if you're asking me about like math or history or something, because I don't know anything about that, even though I have a history degree. I'm based in New York. A lot of the MLH team has been here for a long time, but I used to travel the world and go to tons of different hackathons and communities pre-COVID. Been a little while since I've done that, sadly, but I'm hoping to get back to it in the future. Oh man, the best dish according to me. So I love Szechuan food. It's like a type of Chinese food, very spicy, like interesting flavors. Um, Yeah, that's probably my favorite food in the world. In terms of my favorite thing to bake, my favorite thing to bake is sour cherry pie. The problem is sour cherries are really difficult to get a hold of. Um, they kind of only become available like for about a month a year, and aside from that, they're basically impossible to find. So when I was a kid, we had a sour cherry tree in my backyard growing up. So we used to eat them all the time and bake with them and all that. And that's my favorite thing, both for nostalgia reasons and because it's delicious. We are almost there. It's getting pretty warm. You can heat this milk on my laptop, lol. Mine too. Mine's pretty warm right now. I also love, honestly, I love food in general. I love Indian food. I love Japanese food. I love Chinese food. You name it, I'll eat it. I see someone else said they had. Okay, so this is starting to bubble. That means it's done. And so what we're gonna do is, let me adjust the camera before I do this so that I'm not scrambling. Okay, so you can see the eggs here. Is that vanilla? I think that's vanilla. I'm going to pour a little bit of this in, and I'm going to whisk while we go. The whisking just helps distribute the hot liquid quickly because we do not want it to cook. We're trying to, oh God, sorry about that. Everyone's watching this, right? You know, this is the part of the baking where I burn and or maim myself. Can you all see it now? Great. Let's try that again without the falling camera, hopefully. I really need a better camera clip. You know, normally this camera is on my desk, so I don't really have to worry about it going anywhere. But obviously when you're in the kitchen, it's a little bit harder to account for. But I think I made a smooth recovery there. I love the comments about it. Okay, we're almost there. We're just trying to warm this up a little bit more. And again, the goal here is to heat up the eggs without cooking them, because we're going to pour them back in and then we cook them slowly. So fun fact, if you can see the back of my shirt, every full-time MLHer has numbers on the back of their shirt. That's like your employee number of when you join the company. Both Swift and I are 0, 00, because obviously we started it together. So everyone else has a normal number. This is almost warm enough. I'm just going to add a little bit more to play it safe. Can you all see this okay? I think so. So I can feel the outside of the bowl. It's pretty warm. It's honestly in a really good spot. So, Ryan, you know, Ryan, if you could have gotten me an assistant, that would be great. My partner, Katie, is, you know, not helping me, so she'll just eat the pie later. Not that I asked her for help, so to be fair. Let me get a rubber spatula real quick. And what we're going to do is add the egg back in here. I'm going to whisk it as I go so that we can not cook it again. Slow and steady. Remember, the goal is to incorporate it but not cook it. Almost there. And then we're going to heat it up. Now, one cool thing, if you can see this, you can see all the little vanilla beans in here. We're going to blend all of that up later so that's distributed throughout all of the ice cream. Okay. Let me scrape this pan out. You don't want any of this to go to waste. Okay. So now it says, what does the recipe say? Cook over medium-low heat, stirring constantly until the mixture coats the back of a spoon. Okay. That's what we'll do. Yeah, I saw someone saying that I can add the vanilla beans to sugar. I actually think for this recipe, it asks you to blend up the vanilla beans with the ice cream. So a little extra vanilla punch. Okay. Hopefully this doesn't fall in my pot. I want medium-low heat, so I'm going to turn it down. There's a really strong burner, so I don't want to get messed up. The reason that you need to stir it constantly is if you don't, you're going to start getting like cooked egg on the bottom of your pot. which is really not ideal. It shouldn't take very long though, probably a couple of minutes. Let me turn on my light here too. Can you guys hear the baking noises and stuff in the background, or is my mic canceling it all out? So someone has asked what I'm making. Basically, I'm making apple pie with homemade vanilla ice cream. We already made the pie crust earlier. Right now, I'm making ice cream base, vanilla ice cream base. So what's going to happen is we're making a custard. We're going to strain the custard, and then I'm going to need to let it cool while we work on the apples. So it's a multi-step process here. I'm going to need to get a bigger bowl probably to strain this out too. Custard is not cooked yet. It is warming up though. Am I using baking apples? I'm using Granny Smith apples. They're a little tart, which is nice. So they balance out the sweetness. It gives it a little more interesting flavor. Let's keep on whisking here. I'll great, you can see me whisking it from multiple angles. It's so professional. We have multiple camera angles. And the camera's only fallen into the ingredients twice. Ooh, it smells real good. It smells like vanilla. Getting foamy, that's not a bad thing. Just from all my whisking, I'm adding a little bit of air to it as I go. Now I just need Noel Fielding to walk up and comment. You know, I have multiple times wished I could be on the Great British Baking Show. They only allow Brits on, and I'm American, so I can't do that. But I would go on the Great American Baking Show if they let me. I could do cooking hacks. One time I actually made a robot cake. So I made a little cake like the robot emoji, and I cut out the eyes and replaced them with gelatin. And I put an Arduino underneath so that you could actually like light up the eyes with a little bit switch. It was pretty cool. It was definitely the first, or maybe the second, like tech / baking mashup I've done. It wasn't very hard technically. It was just a switch with a battery and a LED, but it looked really cool. The vanilla bean keeps getting stuck in my whisk here. I'm going to switch over to the spatula so I can see if it's thickening. Not quite yet, but getting there. This is my favorite spatula. They have it in a lot of professional restaurants. I just got it on Amazon. It's only like $5 or something, but it holds up really well to heat. It never melts, which is quite nice. I've had other spatulas that I got that like melted when I left them on a pan. This could be like an ASMR thing of its own, you know. Will could talk and do a voiceover while I stir ice cream base. Let's turn down the heat a little bit because it's starting to steam and I don't want it to overcook. It's definitely getting pretty close. It's like steaming quite a bit. You can see it's starting to thicken too. And the goal with the custard is to get it thick but not cooked. So, got to be a little slow and steady. Man, that smells so good. Now, this recipe also recommends you add a little bit of bourbon to it. I'm not going to do that. I think it might be a little bit too much, but I might add some to the pie. We are almost there, folks. That might be good. Let me double check here. You shouldn't use a metal whisk on a nonstick pan. You know, that's probably true. I've heard that before too. So see, you can see on this back of the spoon here. Let me get that under the camera. That is exactly how we want our custard. You want it to coat the back of the spoon, but not be too thick. Fantastic. I don't know who that was commenting, but I feel like they should get an extra point for giving me accurate but not followed baking advice. So we're going to blend up the beans now. And I'm going to actually need let me think, I might need a bigger bowl here because we're going to cool this whole bad boy down. Getting some bowls. Okay. So what I'm going to need here is a bigger bowl, and I'm going to fill it with water. And we're going to use this as like an ice bath to cool the whole thing down quicker. So hopefully my laptop doesn't fall off again. Great. I'm going to strain this whole thing through. You know, the hardest part about this is reorienting camera whenever I'm changing location here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. I'm going to strain the whole thing through, catch any accidentally cooked chunks. And also the beans. Very nice. Oops. And we're going to blend this up. So I'm going to toss all of the thick bits in the blender. And we're going to add a little bit of the base. And the idea is that we get a little bit more flavor from the beans by blending them up. It's not the most economical use of them, but it'll do. Okay. Gonna toss a little of this in. The scrapings from the bottom of the pan. Yeah, I definitely picked a extra complex recipe so that I could fill a 2-hour time slot here. Apple pie does not need to be this complicated, nor does ice cream. Okay, great. I'm going to blend this whole thing up. Let me find. Now this blender, I've had it for quite a while. It's a pretty cheap blender, but I like it. And I lost the top for it quite a while ago. So now I just use a Tupperware top, which is, you know, we'll call that a hack. Man, I really need to get a better clip for this thing. That's like the third time it's fallen, right? Okay. Oh, yeah. We're blending it up so we get little pieces of vanilla bean in our ice cream. As I said, I've never made this recipe before, so we'll see how it turns out. Gonna let that go for a minute and read what happens next. So, place the beans and the liquid in the blender until they're mostly blended. Strain the blended mixture into the rest of the base. Whisk it, chill thoroughly. Okay, so then we're gonna move on to the apples shortly. Hey Ryan, the person who gave good advice was, who was it there? Hey, it's Nance, I think, if I'm pronouncing that right. because they told me not to use a whisk on the nonstick pan, which is actually bad for it. You could get like plastic in your food, but I never really worry about it. I'm going to call that good enough. And then we're going to strain this back into the mixture. You can notice it's actually a pretty different color. That's from all of the blended up vanilla beans. So nice. And we don't really want the chunks, which is why we're straining it again. Okie dokie. It's going to be so vanilla-y. Wow. You can see all the chunks it caught. Okay. Anything left in here? A tiny little bit. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, I'm going to mix that up. Looking good. It's a nice looking ice cream custard. Let's see, maybe a little bit more will come out here. Okay, I'm going to toss those in the sink. Mix this up. And now I need to get a bunch of ice cubes to put around it so that it cools down quicker. You can all see what's going on here. The goal is I'm going to pour a bunch of water in and basically just help it cool down before I put it in the fridge. You don't really want to put hot stuff in the fridge. It's not good for all of your other food. So this is an alternative to that. Some more ice. And then we will move on to getting the apples ready. This recipe is actually like a caramel apple pie. So we're going to have to make some caramel as part of it. I don't normally do that, but as I said, trying to fill the time slot here and make a more interesting thing. Okay. You can get plastic in your food. It's not you won't get plastic chunks in your food immediately. It's like a long-term danger. You know, like people say that it's like maybe over time it'll wear down. There's not going to be any plastic in this pie, right? It's just saying. Okay. Now I need some water to pour in here. Pour it. I don't need that. That's a waste to use the filtered water. Don't worry, I'm not poisoning people with plastic food. Okay, we're going to pour a bunch of water in. And then we'll have a nice cold bath for our ice cream to cool down. And I'll stir it every once in a while to help it cool. I might need to add some more ice too as we go. Okay, that's probably good for now. It's going to sit right there. Great. Alrighty, now back over to the other counter to work on the apples. Okie dokie, folks. So, chill the ice cream base. Fantastic. Peel, core, and quarter apples. Let me just read this before I do this. So, place a heavy bottom saucepan. Okay, so I'm going to be making a caramel. Great. Okay. Half-inch thick apple slices it wants. I have my mega cutting board you can all see, right? Yeah, there we go. I do have a couple of nice knives. This one I got as a gift when I worked at Twilio. My boss there got it for me, and I have used it for almost 10 years. It's quite nice. Now, this is the really tedious part of this, and I can see the screen now, so if anyone wants to chat or ask questions, now would be a good time. Also, thank you for the compliment on my beard. I have not really been able to see a barber in the last year, so it's getting pretty wild. I trim it every once in a while, but it's definitely a bit long now. So I have to peel all these apples. I don't think I'll need all of them. It asked for about 5 pounds of apples. I think I think I have about six, maybe 6.5 here. Can you get MLH exclusive knives as swag? You know, as much as I would enjoy that, I would be a little bit worried about what happens if someone hurts themselves or something like that. You know, generally we try to avoid, giving away swag that could potentially be life-threatening or, give you a cut in the kitchen. So probably not going to get knife swag anytime soon. Maybe MLH aprons. That would be pretty cool for all of us cooks out there. Okay. So I'm going to put that there. What encouraged me and Swift when we started MLH? So, both of us got our starts through hackathons. For Swift, you've probably all heard his story at some point about how he, you know, decided not to be a lawyer, right? He decided to be a hacker by going to his first hackathon. For me, it was a similar thing. I was studying history with the goal of being a high school history teacher, and I ended up, doing some small jobs here and there as a web developer. And through that, I got introduced to the tech community in New York, and specifically to hackathons. And it like blew my mind. Like I thought it was incredible. Um, I met all of these people there that were inspiring and creative and had all of these like hobbies and passions that they were combining with technology. And for me, that was the thing that like drew me into tech. And so after college, I got a job as a developer evangelist at this company, Twilio. And Swift and I started spending a lot of time together and, helping a lot of hackers. And when it came time to, think about what we were going to do next, like working with student hackers was the obvious choice. It was the thing that we were so personally passionate about, excited about, had gotten so much out of, throughout our whole lives. And, it was, I don't want to say it was an obvious choice because I think there were a lot of like factors that led to MLH being what it is, but it was a thing that we were personally excited about and really wanted to work on, right? And I still think that, getting to work with all of you and getting to help people start their tech careers and learn skills and gain confidence, like that's still the thing I love to do. So yeah, that's really my perspective on why we started MLH. Someone thought that was a jar with vinegar. No, it's water. I'm a little thirsty. I've been talking for an hour straight and have an hour more to go. So just, you know, trying to stay hydrated. Woo! Slipped out of my hand. You're welcome. I am so glad we are able to bring all of these awesome people together. And thank you all for watching me bake. That's not my roommate. That was my wife. Well, I guess technically she's my roommate too. We also have two little guinea pigs. They're adorable. I'll probably give some of these apple scraps to them later. They're in the other room. You can't really see or hear them from here, but they're very cute. I promise. John's apple pie and Major League bread. I saw that bread recipe on Twitter. It's interesting. I've never tried to yeet water into my bread, but maybe I'll try that next time and see how it turns out. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of the tedious part, is peeling a bunch of apples. Also, I'm going to plug my computer in here so it doesn't die. Live streaming can do a number on your battery. I actually do bake a lot of bread. I have a sourdough starter here. It doesn't have a name, but it's a pretty happy little guy. Quite nice. I haven't made any in a couple weeks though, so I keep it in the fridge to stay fresh. Alrighty, keep on keeping on with these apples here. We still have a pretty good crowd tuned in. I'm amazed no one's gotten bored yet. Trying to keep things interesting. What we're going to do after this is I'm going to make some caramel, which basically means you cook sugar until it becomes kind of thicker and candied. And then we're going to coat the apples in it, and that's going to be delicious. Why would we be bored? I don't know. I mean, clearly this is pretty interesting. You know, it was actually a lot of, it was quite difficult to find a recipe that I thought would actually fill 2 hours of time. We're about an hour in now, and I think we're going to use this whole time, but, oh no, the ice cream base is gone. Let me change the banner here. The ice cream base is behind me cooling. I'll give it a quick stir there, but I think it's just kind of doing its thing, cooling down. You may not get to see me churn the actual ice cream. That might have to happen later, unfortunately, but, you know. Yeah, peeling apples, it's like a weird ASMR thing. But anyway, I was going to say, so we're going to make caramel and coat the apples in it. Making caramel is kind of tricky because if you cook it too much, you end up with hard candy and not caramel sauce. I have a candy thermometer that should help. A candy thermometer, I'll show you in a little bit. It's like a thermometer that you clip onto the side of your pot. So that tells you the temperature of whatever's inside while you're cooking. And when you're making candy or any kind of like caramel sauce or working with sugar, you need a very accurate temperature. Any advice for folks who want to cook more or cook interesting things? Ryan thinks of me as an adventurous chef. Why, thank you. You know, it's funny. I was not super into cooking growing up, and my family, like, they're fine. Like they cook, but not like anything gourmet. And in high school and then college, I ended up getting a job at a children's summer camp that I had gone to as a camper, working in the kitchen. And normally, you know, you would think of like summer camp food as like kind of terrible, and it normally is. But the woman who was the chef there was quite inspired and talented, and made really interesting things from scratch all the time. And I learned a lot from working there and being with her. And that was actually the thing that got me like super into cooking. After that, I mean, I went pretty deep in, and I cook a lot of things myself, but that was definitely the spark of it. But I think that for people who want to get into it, who are starting out, I saw a lot of people in chat who are like, oh, you know, I only cook instant noodles or whatever. I love me some instant noodles. I actually just bought some earlier today. Where's that bag? This is my favorite brand of instant noodles. This is gonna turn into like an ad stream. I want a sponsorship. They're not soup. They're dry, like fried noodle, but they're really delicious. For people who want to get started cooking, what I usually recommend is like pick something relatively simple and like experiment with it. So like, for example, you know, a lot of people will eat like pasta with different kinds of sauces, right? Even if you get your pasta in, you know, a box and you get your sauce in a jar, you can experiment with it by like, maybe you cook some vegetables and add that in. Maybe you cook some meat and add that in, you know, and start adding to basic recipes that you're doing until you get a little bit more comfortable with different techniques. Like you could bake your vegetables, you could grill them, you could saute them, and that'll be a good introduction to a lot of like more interesting recipes and technique, because once you figured out how to, like, you know, bake some broccoli, you can start doing more thorough stuff. I also think that there's a ton of like really fantastic YouTube videos out there these days that show off technique or um, demonstrate like concepts. And I actually reference those every once in a while. Like if I need to learn something that I've never done before, I'll watch a video about it. And that's a really good way to learn too. You just have to be prepared to fail, right? It's similar to hacking. A lot of your projects for the first time won't be perfect, and that's okay. And I recognize with food, that's kind of sad because you were intending to eat it. But I've eaten a lot of mediocre things that I cooked. So, it's not the end of the world. You just kind of got to be willing to iterate and learn from your mistakes. I've made many pies before that did not turn out very good. And hey, maybe this one won't either. We'll find out. Whew, okay, I think this is our last apple. It wanted about 5 pounds. My guess is it's about 5 pounds. I'm not 100% sure, but like, I could always weigh it. I just don't know if that's necessary. Let's see. I have a little scale here. Use our bowl from the pie crust earlier. It's not really cross-contamination because it's all going to be touching each other in the pan anyway. So this is about, that's about 4.5 pounds, and I would guess we have about half a pound of peels here. So I think we're in good shape. Okie dokie. Now we have to caramelize, and I have to cut up these apples. Let me get rid of the peels. I want to save some of them for my guinea pigs, but they definitely can't eat them all because they're pretty tiny creatures. But they will be really excited. Maybe if I have a break later, I'll bring the camera over and have them say hello to everyone. Okay. We're just going to put all these peels in a Tupperware. Whew. I dropped some peel on the floor. Okay. Now we have to cut up the apples. Would your pets be friends with Jack's hamster? I don't know. I mean, I don't think they would dislike each other, but I really can't. I don't know if they would be friends or not. I'm going to say that's a hard maybe. How thick does it want these apples? 1/2 inch thick. Okay, that's like pretty chunky. We're going to do that. I guess because we're cooking them down later, they want them pretty thick. I'm coring it as I go. I'll probably give those scraps to guinea pigs too. Someone says, careful with the knife. I'm being careful. Don't worry. I've never cut a finger off on live stream yet. Hopefully this is not the first time. I do know Totally Not Ryan. He's kind of like, the poltergeist of MLH. He just shows up every once in a while to cause havoc. What age did I start cooking? My dad always baked a lot as a kid, and I used to hang out with him and mostly eat the chocolate chips when he was making cookies, but I definitely helped every once in a while. First time for everything. I really hope this is not a first time for anything bad. That would be incredibly sad. We would both have to scrap the pie and also, probably end the stream while I got medical attention. But I'm being quite safe. Don't worry. This is a very sharp knife, though. Did you know that's actually quite safe? It's quite a bit safer to use a sharp knife than a dull knife, because with a sharp knife, you don't have to push quite so hard. And with a dull knife, you have to apply a lot of pressure to it, and so you're more likely to like slip. I do not have a Tesla. I am not that rich. I have a 15-year-old Honda minivan that was lent to me by my wife's parents. that we have not given back yet. But no, it's definitely not a Tesla. It doesn't even have a backup camera. We're getting there with these apples. What color are your cabinet doors? They are, I don't know the technical name of the color, but they're kind of like a dark grayish blue. We actually painted them myself. When we moved in, they were like yellow and gold. But now they're blue because we thought that would look nicer, and I think it does. Yeah. I've actually never owned a car with a reverse camera. I quite like them. I've used them in rentals before. But I've only ever owned very old cars. My car in college was a 10-year-old Toyota Corolla, and I literally drove it until the brakes gave out, which was kind of a scary day, but you know, I survived it. What is the distance between my home and Ryan's home? Probably it's probably like a 30 to 40 minute drive. I don't know how many miles it is. Maybe like 20 miles or something. Not sure. I've actually never been to Ryan's home, sadly. And no one has been to my home because I moved recently. We are almost done. We only have 4 apples left, and then I can make my caramel sauce. Can we see Totally Not Ryan and Ryan together just for once? Why would you want that? I don't understand. I think it is that much, yeah. I don't know, Ryan. I mean, I'm in Queens and you're in New Jersey. So, whoops. That fell on the floor. I'm just going to rinse that off because it's being baked. I wouldn't eat that raw, I don't think, but it's going to be fine because we're cooking it to such a high temperature that anything bad will be killed. I will say, doing this stream really gives me an appreciation for TV chefs. It's a lot of thinking to have to talk and cook at the same time. So shout out to all of those people. Okay. We're getting there, folks. Soon we'll have these pies in the oven. I think the stream will probably be over before the pie is done, sadly. But you'll get to see me put it all together. Pies have to bake for quite a while, usually like, up to an hour. Someone said I need to be cautious. Why? I'm being quite careful with the knife. Everyone seems very concerned for my safety. The real trick is, could I write code while baking? I kind of don't think that's possible, but you never know. I feel like I'm gonna have to make this like a recurring live stream here. Major League Baking. Do I always cook in my home? I don't know where else I would cook. I know that probably was not the question, but I do cook quite a bit, yes. I enjoy cooking. It's healthier to cook for yourself, Oh yeah, I could pop into the stream and show off the pie when it's done. Maybe I'll do that in however long. Whew, this is a lot of apples, folks. There's actually a grocery near me that I went to for these that has like like a wall of apples. Like you literally walk in And there's like bin after bin of every type of apple you can imagine. Okay, that's a lot of apples. Now we are going to make the caramel. This is probably the trickiest part of the recipe, to be honest, because if you burn your caramel, you're kind of screwed. So let me get my whole station ready here. I'm actually gonna probably wash off this spatula because, as I said, it's very heat resistant. Okay. Oh wow! I just got a taste of that vanilla ice cream. That tastes amazing. Whew! Excited to try that later. Okay. I need some paper towels to dry off that bowl, and then I'm gonna pop it into the fridge. Man, that is good vanilla ice cream. Where are my towels? Ah, here. Can you use red apples instead? Yeah, you can use any type of apples you want. Some apples do bake better than others, but they're all going to be delicious. You probably won't notice the difference. The main difference is like flavor, texture, that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm going to wrap up the ice cream so it doesn't get any like other flavors or anything. And then that's going to go in the fridge. And you want your ice cream base to be as cold as possible when you put it in the machine. The reason for that is if it's warm, it's not really going to get the right texture when you churn it. So I'm going to pop this in the fridge basically until we're ready to use it. Okay, cool. Now to make some caramel. It's been a while since I've done this, so hopefully it goes well. Cook over high heat, stirring occasionally. Don't worry about chunks. Continue to cook until it's the color of dark amber. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look up apple pie caramel temperature because I don't want it to burn. Sorry, I'm a little thirsty there. I know that was like a weird thing to do on camera. Okay. I'm trying to find out what temperature I need to cook my caramel to. Because the recipe doesn't say. Does anyone know? It just says continue to cook until it's the color of dark amber. That's a little disconcerting. Let me pull up the recipe. Sometimes a friendly commenter. So it's not about the temperature to bake the pie. It's the sorry, I see a comment there. Google says 245, 250 for caramel. That might be hard caramel. I'm looking at the comments of the recipe here to figure it out. It doesn't say. I think we're gonna wing it and hope for the best. Okay. Now I'm going to move this laptop over there and really hope that doesn't come crashing down again, because that would be bad. Okay. Can you all see that? Yeah. Okay. I have my thermometer in there, though as I said, I'm not sure what temperature it needs to be. But I know it shouldn't be more than 250 because that's what Ryan looked up. So I need a cup of sugar. My mom's watching this. Oh my. Hi, Mom. Oh man. Okay. So, put this on the cook over high heat, stirring occasionally and constantly once the sugar begins to caramelize. Okay. That's what we'll do. I'm going to wash my spatula here because I want to use the same one. Okay. Try that off real quick, and then we will get going. Okay. So what does it say to do next? It says, don't worry about chunks of sugar. Continue to cook until it's dark amber, almost the color of maple syrup. Reduce heat to medium and carefully add butter. How much butter do I need? A quarter cup? Okay. Stirring it in. Carefully add liqueur. I should probably get the butter. How much is a quarter cup of butter? That's good enough. I might need a little bit extra. Ooh, look at that. Starting to melt. I'm going to turn that down. I don't want it to burn. So we're basically melting the sugar, which you wouldn't think it would become liquid, but it does. Very smoky, too. It's getting there. This is definitely what we want to see. Okay, continue to cook until it's dark amber. That is what I'm doing. Oh, yeah. That's getting hot. I'm going to take that thing out because I'm just going to do it by eye here. This is pretty wild. This has to be, sorry I'm not coming back to the camera. I have to watch this pretty carefully. You do not want your caramel to burn. That would ruin the whole pie. Continue to cook until it's dark amber. That's almost dark amber. That's definitely pretty close. You know, I think I'm going to need a oven mitt to hold this spatula. It's getting quite hot just from the steam. Looking good, though. That's like a really nice looking caramel. And so we're going to add the butter to that. A lot of butter. Add a little bit extra because I didn't have quite enough in there. Okay. Now mix, mix, mix. And be careful. Ooh, look at that. That's beautiful. Wow, that is a perfect looking caramel, folks. Let's get that butter melted and then we'll be good to go. Come on, butter. You can melt. Oh, wow. This is really, really nice looking. Okay, I'm going to turn that off for a second and then add a tablespoon of some liquor. It gives it a nice little flavor with the apples. Incredible. Wow. Whew, that's hot. I can feel it through my oven mitt a little bit. Okay. Look at that. That is a beautiful caramel. Oh, man. Okay. Now we're going to add some of the apples in. And this is I barely have the burner on now, but I don't want the caramel to burn, so I'm going to mix this up real quick. Let's make sure it's not going to harden. Wow, look at that. That's quite nice looking, isn't it? You know, I may have actually made this caramel a little too thick. Whoops. Sure, it'll still be tasty. And we're going to actually, oh, I see. We're going to reduce the apples in here. So turn the heat back to high until apples are beginning to soften. Okay, cool. Whew. So much suspense, folks. Add more apples. You know, I'm a little worried this pot is not going to be big enough for all of my apples, but that's a problem for the future here. Okay. Yeah, I definitely should have used a bigger pot, but I didn't, so too late now. So we're going to cook these apples down a little bit, and then we're going to, I think, thin out the caramel with some of the apple juice, I hope. Yeah, you can see the caramel melting and covering the apples a bit. Mm-hmm. Okay, folks, we're getting there. Soon we'll be ready to roll out the pie crust. Yeah, you can see all the caramel at the bottom is like basically melting back, which is nice. Getting more liquidy. Okay. Whew. Hooey. Gonna try and add some more apples in. We're gonna need to cook these down enough where I can fit them all in the pot, which may be a problem. We'll see. This pot is you can see, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but in the bottom there's like a liquidy, juicy caramel. I'm gonna get a little metal knife and scrape off that spatula so that stuff can melt too. Okay. So this says soften the apples about 5 minutes, then add the remaining apples, continue to cook until all the apples are cooked about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah, the caramel is like almost completely melting away, which is good because it's getting a little hard there. There's still some chunks that need to melt, but I really do wish I had done this in a bigger pot though, because this is going to be a little bit precarious as I fill this up with the rest of the apples. Next time I'll use a bigger pot. Whoops. I like that my mom is on the stream though, giving advice. It's very helpful. You know, Will asks, does Katie appreciate my baking as much as Swift does? The joke there is that Swift doesn't eat sweets, so he doesn't appreciate my baking at all. Katie quite likes the things I bake and does eat them. So probably better than Swift here, unfortunately. Whoop! Apple down. I'm not going to save that one. It's going to be all sticky on the floor. I will lift it up though so it doesn't stick to my floor. Yeah, this is getting quite hard to stir the apples. I might need to wait to put the rest of them in until these have cooked down a little bit. I should have used a bigger pot. I could probably transition to a bigger pot, but I'm a little worried about the caramel. Maybe I will. It might make our lives a lot easier here, even though it's more cleaning in the future. This is my favorite pot. It's a Dutch oven I got for my birthday a couple of years ago. Ugh, beautiful. Oh yeah, look at that. All the caramel came out because it's basically liquid at this point. Fantastic. Well, now we can fit it all. Yeah, cleaning is the worst part. Oh, that is so much better having a nice roomy pot to work with. That other one was quite cramped. So we're basically going to cook these apples down for a bit with the caramel. Let me get another. Where is my other oven mitt? I don't know. Okay, let's stir that bad boy up. Still some caramel that needs to melt down there. I'll let that go. Let's turn this up. Okay. Whew. Now we need to add some cinnamon, pepper, and salt. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. The pepper is an interesting one. I wonder why. I have not seen pepper in apple pie before. You know, I always like to do heaping teaspoons of cinnamon. Everyone in my family likes cinnamon. Oh, God. I definitely have a sticky caramel spot on the floor now. That's unfortunate. Okay. How much salt? Half teaspoon of pepper. So not very much pepper at all. A little bit of salt. Cleaning is especially tough when you're doing caramel because it sticks to everything. How much salt here? Quarter teaspoon butter. I think that's the last ingredient. This recipe asks for some fancy salt that I don't have, so whatever. Not going to worry about it. Okay, let's mix this up, get all the cinnamon incorporated, get all the apples coated. This is looking real good. These apples are a nice color. They smell good too. All the cinnamon and caramel. Is the fan in the background too loud? Let me turn that off. I don't know if anyone can hear it. This mic tends to be pretty directional, so it may not be a problem. Look at that. That is coming out quite nicely. So what we're going to do here is we're going to strain out all the apples. And then we're going to reduce the remaining caramel into like a little appley caramel sauce, and it's going to be delicious. It's looking good though, right, people? Smells good. I wish you could all smell it. Next time we'll have to add the smell extension to Twitch. I need to get a nice big pot to strain this into. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of cleanup, unfortunately. A lot of cleanup. Man, these are some good looking apples. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Not that he, was going to do anything to stop this, but I appreciate the vote of confidence there. And if any of you can come up with a really good reason why baking has something to do with local hack day, I will gladly take that as well. Look at that. The caramel's bubbling. The apples are looking good. This is fantastic. Wow. This is going to be a good pie. The real question is, how does all of this fit into one pie crust? It's a lot of apples, right? The best reason I could come up with for why baking has something to do with hacking is that hackers love to eat. Food is a big part of every hackathon, so maybe that's a good reason. Well, hopefully these all fit. Jon's beard is like Chris Hemsworth in Avengers. Thanks, I guess. I feel like Ryan is making Swift out to be kind of a curmudgeon. Swift loves fun and happiness and all of that stuff. I think these apples actually might be at a state where I want to strain them out. Do you think it's been 5 to 10 minutes? I don't really remember when I started. They're going to bake more in the oven, so it's probably good enough. Okay, so we're going to strain this out. Okay, let's do this, folks. I'm going to use my handy dandy strainer here. I'm going to lift the apples out, let the juices go back in. Voila. Ooh, these are nice. This could be its own like ASMR, right? Like just watching caramel drip off of my strainer here into a boiling pot. Almost there. The last couple are always the hardest to get out. And this liquid here, which is our caramel combined with some apple juice now, is going to become a caramel sauce that goes on the pie. Oh, that one last apple. Come on. Okay, great. So the recipe says return the caramel liquid to heat and reduce for about 5 minutes, and then remove from heat. Okay, we can do that. Hey Google, set a 5-minute timer.
5 minutes, starting now.
I have a Google Home in my kitchen. That's the only thing I use it for is timers. No, this camera feels like it's pretty good right now. I don't want to curse it by, saying that too loudly, but it feels like it's in pretty good shape. I clamped it on a little tighter this time. Man, that is a nice looking caramel sauce. Okay. Any did I set off your Google Home? I'm sorry. Any questions while we're waiting for that to reduce down a little? Okay, I'm going to take the dough out of the fridge. Let's see, how hard is it? Actually, I don't need to take it out yet. It's pretty cool still. We don't want it to be too cold. I mean, too warm. So far, so good, folks. I have not burned anything. I haven't cut anything off. No fires. Nothing. I like Alexa and Google equally. I only have a Google Home though, but that's kind of just coincidental. There's not really a good reason for one over the other. It's just I think I got it for free when I bought my Android phone, so that's why I use it. Okay. Take dough out of refrigerator. How much battery? Good. We're actually just about ready to preheat the oven too. So the recipe says take the dough out of the fridge, preheat the oven to 400 Fahrenheit, Roll out dough to less than a quarter inch thick, but not all the way to an eighth inch. Drape it over a rolling pin and transfer into a pie tin, smoothing the corners. Trim the excess. Add the strained apples to the bottom pie crust. It will look like they don't fit, but pack them in there. They will. I like that they say that. Pour the caramel sauce over the apples. Then put the top crust over. Okay, then. And then we're going to brush it with some egg yolk and water. And okay, cool. We are almost ready for pie dough, folks. It's the moment of truth. I'm going to toss all these apple scraps in a Tupperware. Maybe I'll figure out something to do with them later. I would not say I'm sponsored by Android. I do have a Pixel phone, but I also have a MacBook, so I feel like it's even. Am I thinking that this was harder than it seemed? It was kind of what I expected. I did a lot of research on this recipe beforehand. The thing I am really impressed by is I estimated this would take like almost exactly 2 hours, and it looks like that is exactly how much it will take. So I'm pretty happy with that. I just set my oven to preheat to 400 Fahrenheit. How's that caramel looking? I feel like I need someone on the stream to comment so I don't have to keep walking back and forth. I'm going to clear off my cutting board here. I actually have a really handy dandy, you'll see it in a second. I have a pie like roller thing. I don't know how else to explain it. Hey Google, stop. Okay, we're going to turn that off. I need a bowl to pour it into so it can cool down a little bit. Here, I'll tilt this away, Katie, so you don't. Katie is getting a drink of water behind me and didn't want to be on the camera. Is this the first time we've seen the back of an MLH t-shirt since you were online? I don't know. I mean, it could be. I feel like people don't walk backwards that often. I'm breaking new ground here. Wow, that is a beautiful caramel sauce. Beautiful. Okay. We're just going to leave that to cool off for a second. When was the last time I traveled? March of 2020. I actually had a flight home the day before New York went into quarantine last year. Okay. Yeah, this is a really old MLH shirt. What batch number is it? Let me see if I can find it. Oh, wow. This is the first shirt we ever made. It says batch 0 there. That's cool. Where is my pie thingamajig? That's the technical term for it, actually. I'm like searching through my cabinets to find it. Where is the pie? Here it is. Okay. So this is the pie thingamajig. It's a silicone sheet that has rounds of different sizes marked into it so that when you roll it out, you can see how big your pie needs to be. It's quite handy. I'm just going to put that right on top of my cutting board. Now I'm going to move the camera back over. Oh, wow. So this laptop has a magnet charger, and it magneted to my knife as I was moving it there. That's funny. Fantastic. Okay. You can all see that again. Let me plug in the charger just to be safe. Great. Let's do it. There were multiple batch zeros, that's true, but they were all at least 6 years old, maybe 5 at the minimum. Okay. So the other laptop is a Surface Book, and this one is a MacBook. I have the competing laptops here, both at the same time. Okay. We're going to roll out our dough. If you remember from the beginning, I put this in the fridge. I'm going to flour my board here. You don't want it to stick. That would be very bad if your pie crust sticks. It could rip, and then it's ruined. Or at least not in good shape. I need a rolling pin. Some people like the rolling pins that turn. I like the one that's solid. Doesn't really make a difference, to be honest. Sadly, you do not get to taste the pie, but I do, which is pretty great. Getting flour all over my MLH shirt. Take some muscle to get this out. This is like the workout part of being a baker, you know, before you eat all the pie. Oh yeah, I should update the part, shouldn't I? I keep forgetting to do that. Not that the titles really tell you much, but, you know, can't hurt. There's a good looking pie crust, folks. Let's see what this is. I'm gonna put it on my pie tin and see if it looks big enough. That might be big enough. Let's try and do this. So the trick with pie crust is you want to press it in so you have corners in here. And you have some overhang, which is actually kind of intentional. You want a little bit of overhang because it shrinks as it goes. Okay. Okay, I mean, this says to add the apples. I think it's time. I think my crust is ready. My apples are ready. We're ready, folks. I'm gonna put on some vinyl gloves because otherwise I'm never going to get that caramel off of my hands. Also, they might hurt. Might be a little hot. There is no GitHub repo for this. However, I'll post a link to the recipe in a little bit. I had it up earlier, but I can put it up again if anyone's curious. As I said at the beginning, this is a recipe I have never made before. I've made a lot of apple pies, but this is the first time making this specific recipe. So I don't know what that tells you, but okay, folks. So, nope, not too hot to touch. Good. We're just going to start putting these apples in. There's kind of a art to getting them all to fit. You have to lay them out in a certain way. They're nice. They're like partially cooked, but not fully cooked, so you're not going to get mushy apples at the end. Yeah, if someone wants to put this on GitHub pages, that's fine. Just make sure you credit the actual author of this because I did not write this recipe myself. I'm using one from one of my favorite recipe websites, Serious Eats. I like them a lot because they often talk about the science of the cooking as well as the actual like technique of the recipe. You know, I could probably do this 2 hands at a time. I don't think I need to go one apple at a time here. That's not that delicate. I do quite enjoy though that the recipe said it's not going to look like they'll fit, but they'll fit. Damn, I gotta say, this looks like a real good pie. I am excited to taste it. I saw that my parents were on the stream earlier trying to give me advice on the caramel. They will also be able to taste the pie. We're going to have a little socially distant outdoor gathering. Oh man, we're getting close, folks. These apples are almost stacked up in there. Damn, these are hot at the bottom. I was not ready for that. Almost like burning my fingers. We only have 10 minutes left. I wonder if I'll have time to get the ice cream in the ice cream maker before you all leave. Or before whoever the next streamer is starts. Is there a special check-in code? No. There is a link to check in. Someone can post it in chat. It's also in Discord in the event reminder channel. Okay, only a couple more apples to fit in here. Whoop. There's a lot of juice left. Wow, this is a stacked pie. I'm like a little worried about getting that top crust on. But the recipe said it'll be okay, so I'm going to trust them. I still have to roll out the top crust too. Thank you for posting the link, Ryan. I appreciate it. My hands are a little busy here. Okay, great. I'm going to move this over and then we're going to roll out the top crust. Okie dokie. Here's our top crust. I'm going to flour this again so it doesn't stick. And we're going to top the top of it too so that doesn't stick to the rolling pin. This is quite a nice pie crust. I haven't used this recipe before, but it's a good consistency. The reason you flip it over is so that you aren't like constantly stretching out the same part of the dough. Okay. Looks like it's just about big enough. Though, as I said, that pie is very full, so we'll see how this goes. I'll lift this back up here, try not to lose any apples. Look at that. It fits pretty nicely. And we're going to go around and press it together so that we have like a sealed pie on the edges here. And then we're going to trim it. There will be some dough that we don't get to use, but that's okay. It's more important that it's all solid. Wowee, that is a tall pie, folks. I need that paring knife that we were using earlier for the vanilla. Just going to go straight around. Trying to leave a little bit of dough hanging off just because it shrinks a lot of the time, but it's hard to do. It might just be a tight pie. Okay. Now my oven just beeped. That means it's preheated. Fantastic. Oop, that side is a little too much dough. Okay. I don't know how long I have to bake for. I'm going to use a fork here and press the edges. That both looks kind of nice and also helps seal it together, the top and the bottom. We're almost ready to toss this in the oven, and then I will get the ice cream started, and I think we'll be done with the stream at least. I might pop on later to show you all how it turned out. The temperature is 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and it bakes for, let's see, 25, no, like 30 or 40 minutes. Okay. It also asks me to, oh, crap. You know what I forgot, folks? I'm going to have to open up this stupid pie and do. I forgot to add the caramel sauce. This is my first big error of the pie. Ay, ay, ay. Shouldn't be that hard to get back open, but that was definitely a oversight. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Now I'm doing pie surgery. Everything was going so smoothly up until now. Okay. We're just going to fold that over like that, dump our saucy sauce in, and never talk about this again. We're just going to pretend that didn't happen, folks. Okay, great. It's overflowing a little. I'm going to press that back together. So when you bake a pie like this, it's real juicy. This is real juicy. You actually want to do it on like a huge sheet pan so that if the juices explode out, which I guarantee you they will, it won't get all over your oven. Wow, okay, fixed. Kind of a minor setback there. Now we're going to brush it with some of that leftover egg that we had. Hopefully the yolk, but there's definitely a little of white in there too. Not a big deal. I have a pastry brush somewhere. Okay. And this just gives it that like nice golden brown color that a lot of pies have. Makes it nice and shiny. Oh man, we're at 11:59. What's going to happen if I go over? Are they going to shut me off? We're so close. So close. I need to do the edges. Okay. This recipe also calls for us to sprinkle the top with sugar. Thanks, Ryan. Someone says apple pie is more than leaderboard updates. I'm glad we have our priorities straight. How much sugar did it say to put on there? Generously. Okay. Whatever that means. I feel like I was pretty generous with that sugar. Maybe I'll throw a little more on there just for good measure. And then I need to make a couple of slits to let the steam escape. Beautiful. Let me just show you how it looks. Look at that. That's a nice looking pie. Now I need to get my nice big pan so it doesn't explode all over my oven. Woo. Okay. Sorry, my cabinet is a little cramped here. It's hard to get stuff out. Okay. There's my pan. I'm actually going to take this a step further and line the pan with tin foil because otherwise it's going to have a bunch of hardened on caramel that's impossible to clean off. So might as well take the precaution here and not make cleanup harder than it's already going to be. Okay. Now bring this over here. Ready for the pie to go into it. Whew, man, that's a heavy pie. Okay. Now I think it goes in the oven, right? Bake for 20 minutes, turn and bake for another 10 or 15. Okay. Wish me luck, folks. Damn, that's a big ass pie. Okay. Hey, Google, set a 20-minute timer.
20 minutes.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to end now because we're at time, but the only thing I really have left to do is throw the ice cream in the ice cream maker. Thank you all for watching. I really enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you all again. Enjoy the leaderboard update from Ryan.